This week's video, the aiguillette. The word aiguillette comes from the French word aiguille, meaning needle. An aiguillette is a cord with metal tips or lace tags. It also can be used to describe the decorative tip itself. They can be both functional or decorative in nature. Some of the more decorative ones can be made with gold, with gemstones, or enamel. If you've ever seen a parade or the National Remembrance Day ceremony, you've seen an aiguillette, as the people who walk behind and stand beside the Governor General of Canada were aiguillettes, as those are the Governor General's aides-de-camp. Another good example of aiguillettes is the household cavalry in England. Modern use of the aiguillette: they are an ornamental braided cord with decorative tips, made of metal, usually of brass. As you can see, that's what we have here. And they are worn either on a uniform or an academic dress, which denotes honor. This usage of the aiguillette comes from lacing that was used to fasten plate armor back in the day, and it was fastened together with a knot or loop arrangement, which sometimes hung from the shoulder. Aiguillettes are not to be confused with lanyards. While lanyards are also worn from the shoulder or a pocket or around the neck, they're more designed for attaching to pistols, whistles, and other like equipment, depending on unit and branch of service. Other modern forms of aiguillettes are shoelaces and bolo ties. A little history on the aiguillette. In the 16th and 17th centuries, aiguillettes, or metal tips, like I said before, could be decorative or functional. Although many were used to close seams or slashes, that were not always apparent on dark-colored apparel in portraits. They usually were made in matching sets, and sometimes in silver, silver gilt, or gold. And they were worn during masses. An inventory that was taken in 1547 of clothes that belonged to King Henry VIII of England stated that he had one coat with 12 pairs of aiglettes and 11 gowns with a total of 267 pairs. That's quite a few. These would have been much smaller than the modern aiglettes that you see. Military use of aiguillettes is nothing new. Neither is the use of braid on military uniforms either. If you look back at some of the older European imperial uniforms, you'll see lots of braid on those uniforms, such as the goatee, where it's braids across the chest. The modern military use of the aiguillette, like the one we have here today, comes from the laces that were used to tie plate armor together, so the breastplate and the back plate, and which were secured with ties, which were short loops of cord and were used as a hinge on one side, and then on the other side of the plate armor were tied together with a more decorative style tie, in which the ensuing knots would hang down the shoulder. As the armor became more for ceremonial purposes, it became more decorative and ornate. So did the type of ties that were used to hold it together. This can explain the aiguillettes of varying complexity that you see on the household cavalry uniforms, as opposed to those worn by other non-armored troops. There is a version of the origin story of the aiguillette that comes from the use of aides-de-camp or adjutants wearing a pencil on a cord that hung down the shoulder. But there is no historical evidence or base to those claims. Use in Canada, aiguillettes with shoulder boards are worn by the aides-de-camp to the Governor-General of Canada. They are gold in color with brass tips and is always worn on the right shoulder. Aides-de-camp to the Lieutenant Governor wears the same gold-colored aiguillette but with no shoulder boards. Aides to generals, flag officers, and diplomats wear them on the left shoulder. Aides to the sovereign, meaning the Queen, and other royal appointments wear it on the right side or right shoulder, just like those for the Governor General and the Lieutenant Governors. The newer styled aiguillettes are all gold in color with brass tips. The older styled ones, which can still be seen in use today if the wearer has them, were slightly different. They were gold mixed with another color in the braid, which denoted which branch of service the wearer was from. Examples of this are gold with crimson for the army, which you might be able to see is this one here. It has gold with crimson, as this one came from the Armored Corps. I'll post some up-close photos at the end of the video so that you can see the color more in the more decorative parts of the tips. Other ones could be gold with navy blue for the Navy and gold with Air Force blue for the Air Force. And that's the aiguillette. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you tune into the next video next week. Thank you.